All right, this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fan Discussions, continuing our Coliseum home video review series. This is going to be Demolition Witness The Power. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank, and let's get into it. Everybody knows Demolition was on a huge run starting at WrestleMania IV, culminating pretty much all the way till they were buried by the Legion of Doom. I'm going to put it that way because that's how I feel it was. But for at least a good 2 years,
Well, Vince buried them by
Vince
using
buried.
the Legion of Doom. Yeah, it wasn't the
Yeah,
Legion of Doom themselves, but I get what you're saying.
no, it's not like they signed and said, "Oh, okay, which tag team you
Right,
want us to
right.
destroy." Um, but like I said, from WrestleMania 4 on, they had a great run. This was a video of their best matches through that time period, and a
Because this
couple
came
of
out in
ones
80.
that,
This came out in '89, right? This was
yeah,
released in '89.
yeah, and it even showed a couple of matches that we may or may not have seen over the course of time, either through Saturday Night Main Event or Superstars or Wrestling Challenge, stuff like that. So here we go. And they were narrating it themselves, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. They used to do that on these videos.
Yep. The first one they showed was the beginning of their run for the tag titles at WrestleMania 4, Demolition facing Strike Force.
Right, yeah. Oh man,
And
I
dude,
remember
when
this.
I so do I, like it was yesterday, and I remember when I saw this, I felt bad because I had a feeling that Strike Force was not going to beat them. You just look at the two teams, and it's like, yeah, there's no way you're pulling this off.
I
I'm
mean,
not
with these
going to
guys
believe
had
it.
talent. I mean, Santana and Martel had talent, but you kind of felt they were going to get overpowered eventually.
Exactly, they were going to get demolished and destroyed, and they did. And
Well, it was cheating though. It wasn't like they lost in a straight up fight.
no, but they did it in heel fashion because they
Yeah,
were heels.
yeah.
And Axe used Fuji's cane on Martel and smash pinned him, and they're the tag team champions. But you know what? That day, I became a Demolition fan because there was just something about them that I loved, and
Yeah.
they went on an impressive run that lasted almost over 20 years until New Day broke the record, and then of course the Usos broke
Yeah.
that. But I mean that's a pretty impressive record for back in the day to be tag team champions as long as they were.
Hmm.
And so from that match, they go to their next one. I was a little surprised that they showed Survivor Series '88, but I mean it wasn't a tag team match or a title match. They showed the last few minutes of
Hmm.
the Survivor Series tag team
Survivor,
match
yeah.
where it was them and the Conquistadors and the Powers of Pain and the British Bulldogs on the other side. And again, you watch this even if for the first time, and you see Fuji going up on the apron, and he, of course, Monsoon and Ventura, oh, he wants to whack somebody. I mean, you could just kind of tell what's going to happen. It was kind of weird that they chose this pay per view to change the two of them, and to me, I remember back then it didn't make any sense, and I believe I said this on the Survivor Series episode that Fuji would dump the tag team champions to go with a team that has been short lived in the
Made no sense.
WWE.
Made no sense
Yeah,
whatsoever.
I mean you want to put them fan favorites. I'm all for it. I just thought that was a really odd way to do
You
it.
killed the powers of pain.
Oh, they got buried.
That was it.
If they didn't have a hard time earlier that year getting buried by the Road Warriors, well, it's going to
Yeah.
happen now.
I know Demolition was
Unfortunately.
starting to get cheered, and that's why they wanted to turn them, but
Mm-hmm.
that was just a piss poor way to do it, I think. So, but
Yeah,
it is what it is.
he cost Smash and Axe the match. They get counted out. They have the little scuffle with Fuji at ringside, and they beat him up. Powers of Pain just dust him off, and everybody's looking around like, wait a
I mean, the
minute.
double turn, it was a stupid. That was stupid.
Am I supposed? And then they win the Powers of Pain win the match. I'm like, wait a
Right,
minute, am I supposed to cheer these guys?
right. What's going on? The crowd was confused. I
And
was
then
confused.
Demolition comes back. They beat them up and out of the ring, and the
I'm like,
fans
wait a minute.
still are
Is it
like,
your?
yeah, what are we doing here?
I don't know.
But it worked out for the benefit because
Yeah.
eventually Demolition would get the loudest pops, kind of similar to the Hart
Yeah.
Foundation. Because
I
remember when
always
the
thought they were
Hearts
better
turned,
heels, though. I always thought they were better heels.
yeah, they were. Because you remember when the Hearts turned, it took a while for the fans to kind of
Eventually.
embrace them.
Hmm.
So, but Demolition, it didn't take that long. But you're right. I think as heels, they were a lot
They
better.
were better as heels, I think. Yeah.
So then, speaking of that, they well, actually, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun for the Survivor Series. I missed the middle match at SummerSlam. Speaking of the Hearts, Demolition defended the tag titles
Hmm.
against them, and of course, Jimmy Hart's at ringside with them. because he knows the Hart Foundation. They just left him.
Yeah, that was during the whole time where Jimmy Hart was also with what are these guys? The other tag team, Rougeaus, right? He's with the Rougeaus.
Yeah,
And then he's helping Demolition out because he knows them. This was a great match though.
it really was. And I've said this on the review. I didn't like how it ended, but they did it in heel fashion with the megaphone.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of hoping that Demolition proved their dominance over the Hart Foundation, because to me back then, that was Hart Foundation was the only real team above Demolition, in my opinion, at the time. Even though Demolition was the tag team champions, the Harts were kind of a little better, elevated. So
because of Brett, it was a Brett.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Your boy, yeah. No, it's true.
Though.
It is.
Yeah.
And so I thought a clean victory at SummerSlam may, in fact, get them over that hump. But I can see why, heel-wise, Jimmy Hart wants to get the revenge, gives them the megaphone, and they beat the Hart Foundation like that and keep the tag team titles. So, I mean, it's fine. Mm-hmm. So now let's go on to the one after the Survivor Series. They showed for the tag team championship, Demolition defending the titles against the Bolsheviks. And this was actually a match that was October 26, 1988, but they showed it, I think, afterwards. Because they were still with Fuji, because the announcer had said being led toward the ring by Mr. Fuji, and he wasn't there. And so they took on the Bolsheviks. That also explains why the fans really weren't cheering.
Yeah, but this was a dark match. So
yeah.
We didn't see it until it was on Coliseum. So it was on a tape.
Unfortunately, I would have liked to see this on a Superstars or even a pay-per-view match, because you got the brute force of Demolition. You got the same thing from the Bolsheviks. Nikolai lost a little step or two, but they were still a good tag team.
Yeah, the way the reason why the announcer says, I guess it's a miscommunication. The announcer says with Fuji is because they were still with Fuji, but they already knew they were going to turn them and release this later on. So they didn't come out with Fuji. Fuji was in the back. Yeah. So but then the announcers the recording of the announcers wasn't live. It's post-production. So they had already left Fuji. So that's why this is what they
never said anything, and it was
what they used to do back in the day.
It was Tony Schiavone and Lord Alfred Hayes doing that.
Yeah. So
Mike McGirt always messed up a time or two or whatnot, and I always used to love Bobby Heenan making fun of her when he did the commentary on Wrestling Challenge when she was on there, and stuff. So. But I mean, this match didn't disappoint either. The Bolsheviks, naturally doing their anthem and Demolition interrupting them, just like everybody else does. And I really did like this match. And of course, you get the finishing move here, the Demolition decapitation, and on Zukov, and Axe got the pin. But like I said, I liked the match because it was two brute teams going at it.
Yeah. And
Nikolai's a former tag team champion. And of course, then you just got Boris Zukov, unfortunately. But the Bolsheviks were,
no, they were decent. They were a good tag team.
They were underrated.
Yeah, they weren't bad. I mean, the tag team division was never. This was the best it's ever been at this time frame in the late 80s. It's on fire.
You had a huge amount of tag teams all biting for the tag titles, and there was just not. Now, if you had monthly pay-per-views back then
right, you could.
All these guys are getting this shot.
Right, and there's more title changes probably. They needed this. See, they needed a U.S. title, a U.S. tag team title, unlike
something like that. Yes.
WCW. At this point, you could have justified it because you had so many great tag teams in WWF.
Exactly. You needed to, and they all wanted the ring time. They all wanted the spotlight, and I can't blame them because they were all pretty good.
They were all capable. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but in this day, Demolition whoops them. Now, the next match they showed on there was another dark match. It was the Demolition in a non-title match against Greg the Hammer Valentine and a Honky Tonk Man. Not yet Rhythm and Blues.
Yeah, not yet, but unofficially. Yeah.
Not until Boxcars gets the hair dye. like Monsoon call. Oh, look at old Boxcars over there. I can't believe they did that to that boy. Oh my god! And then he's trying to do the Elvis lip.
I know, it's bad.
Bro, don't do it. I mean, the name fit. They were all right. I couldn't see it. I mean, Valentine, former tag champ. You put him in another tag team. This is like the third one, because don't forget, a lot of people don't know Dream Team Part 2 lasted for a minute. That didn't work.
The new Dream Team.
Thank God. Oh my God. Bravo and Valentine wasn't going to work for me. So bringing Honky Tonk Man into the tag team division was something that he wasn't familiar with. But for the year or so that they were together, it wasn't bad.
They're all right. Okay.
I was so glad to see Demolition whoop them in this match, and of course, Honky hits Axe with the megaphone in the match, but Rugged Ronnie Garvin had come down, and of course, his feud with Valentine's well documented, and he awards the bout to Demolition.
Well, because at this point, storyline wise, he's an official. He's temporarily like
he was suspended as a wrestler.
Right.
So I thought the storyline with that was okay.
No,
I wasn't really a Garvin fan.
I was a Garvin fan, dude. I've said this before. Don't ask me why, because I can't tell you to this day. For whatever reason, I was a Rugged Ronnie Garvin fan. I don't know.
Certain things that these guys do, you just kind of latch onto them.
Yeah.
I've said it. You made fun of me. I was an Adam Bomb fan. Something
For
about
whatever
him,
reason,
something about him worked, and if they pushed him the right way, I think he would have been successful. So I mean,
I was all invested into that feud with Valentine. I was all about that.
It was
feud.
really good how psychologically he's messing with Valentine that whole time,
and then with the shin guard, that whole thing,
and then it culminated at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
So the feud I liked. Like I said, psychologically he was tormenting Valentine through SummerSlam and everything else.
Garvin was just believable to me, man. I don't want to get too stuck on Garvin, but I don't know. I believed him as a badass. Like I believe, and he was funny when he used to get on the mic and do the introductions, and he would get the weights all messed up and everything. And
SummerSlam when he did that.
Yeah. That was I don't know. I bought it, man. I bought it.
I liked him in the NWA. We recently, not too long ago, did the Clash where him and Jimmy Garvin were teaming together. And, the fans really got behind him. And, his success to me was more there than it was here. He wasn't given a full shot probably, which is why I didn't see him as much. Because remember, lack of pay-per-views and, if you don't have cable at the time and superstars, you only get so many wrestlers that are going to be on there. So, it's not too bad. Demolition defending the tag titles against the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. And I love this feud.
Yeah, they always had great matches.
Just like the Brainbusters, they came into WWE, the WWF at the time, and like, all right, who needs help? And they helped elevate Demolition a little bit, and they definitely helped the Rockers.
Yeah. This is from a Saturday Night's Main Event taping, right? This one?
Yeah, this was the first of the two title defenses. This one ended in a disqualification on Axis Park because he threw the ref. When they had the rematch on the next one, the Brainbusters won the tag titles. Because we've made the comment that I believe that second one was in July, and at SummerSlam, the Brainbusters are facing the Hart Foundation, and the titles aren't on the line.
Right, it was a non-title match.
I didn't understand that. I really thought put the titles on the line makes the match a little better, even if the Brainbusters beat the Harts.
I don't know. I don't get that.
We weren't the bookers. No. We were kids. But the match itself was great. There's also, like you are with Garvin, there's something about me with Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. It's just their chemistry just mixes in the ring with everybody they work with.
I appreciated them much more later on than while I was watching it because they were heels and I was rooting against them. Yeah. But years later, when I rewatched this, they were one of the best tag teams of all time. It's just a shame that, we saw them in NWA, WCW, but it's just a shame that we only got them for a year here.
Yeah, I was really hoping that, you look back now and go, man, if they would have re-signed, the impact they would have had.
Family, it was really good stuff.
But then the whole thing with Tully Blanchard around Survivor Series, and then Arn's ready to walk out.
He was ready on the way out. Yeah,
it was a shame. But for the year that we had him, they didn't have a bad match. WrestleMania V,
everybody,
SummerSlam, everything. Next matches on the Coliseum home video was from WrestleMania V. I thought it took a little away from the match, but I guess I can understand why they did it. It's a 2-on-3 handicap match. Demolition defending the tag titles against the Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji.
That was stupid.
It kind of really was. It took away from the 2-on-2 between the four of them, and especially when Fuji is the one that's pinned. So it's not even the Warlord and Barbarian who got the defeat. It was their manager. This is something they could have did on Superstars as a non-title 2-on-3 match,
or even a Saturday Night's Main Event. Like after the feud is kind of already over, you could throw that in there. But this is just it took away from the match. I understand the beef that they had with Fuji because he turned on them.
Yeah.
But for a WrestleMania match, and this is the big blow off. This is like the culmination of that feud between them. Disappointing to have him in there and just. I mean, it was cool seeing him get his ass whipped. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was. I enjoyed it.
But that once they turned the powers of pain heel, and then that double switch with Demolition going babyface, the feud was done. It was snake bit. It was over.
Yeah, and so was Powers of Pain pretty much because when they first came in, they were a house of fire. The fans, enjoyed them. I enjoyed them at SummerSlam '88. They had a nice entrance theme. They were jacked.
Yeah, I mean,
if this was the reverse,
they were
Powers
over.
of Pain with a fan favorite at WrestleMania V, it couldn't have gone differently.
Right, the Powers of Pain were over initially. Like the crowd was behind them, and by turning them, it just didn't work.
And then eventually you break them up.
Yeah, just don't work.
And then you don't do anything with them,
right?
Except give Warlord a year-long feud, which was done after 3 months, and Barbarian, well, not really. Eventually, you put him in a brief another tag team with Haku, and that was
right.
it.
So the match was all right. It wasn't terrible. It was just
it wasn't.
I just didn't think that.
I think it took away from the four of them going at it. That's all.
Yeah, I think Fuji takes the Doomsday device, right? He took the Doomsday device on this.
Yeah, the decapitation. Yeah, after he throws salt.
Not
in
the Doomsday
Warlord's
device.
eyes.
Yeah. I'm thinking about Legion of Doom for some reason.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, they're around the corner anyway, right?
It's coming, but we're a year out from that match.
Yeah. So I thought this Coliseum home video wasn't bad. I mean, it kind of sucks that we don't get like exclusive. We only had like 2 matches that we didn't see.
Yeah.
On TV, but I understand they want to save money, and so you throw these matches in their compilations of other stuff. And back then, I mean, let's be honest, like not everybody saw the pay-per-views.
No,
like you didn't all right. So just when you get the Coliseum home video, you might not have seen that pay-per-view. So it's not.
Remember how rare it was on Superstars and Wrestling Challenge where 2 actual wrestlers on the roster would face each other.
Or maybe you missed that Saturday night's main event. And now this is your chance to see that match.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fine for what we have to put this in the proper context of what that time frame was all about. This is before YouTube. This is before streaming, before all that complete access. So sometimes this was the only time you could actually get to see all these matches.
Oh yeah, that's why we all rented all 6 volumes of Hulkamania.
Right, absolutely. So it was fine. This was fine for a Demolition video. I enjoyed it. It was good. Yeah. All right. Well, that's our review. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care.